Hillman? Prayer. You want prayer? Which one you want, you or Bobby? Meeting come to order. Would you lead us in prayer, Bobby?
If you would, please bow your head with me. Dear God, as we come before you, we're thankful for all the good things that you provided for us. Thankful and praise you and lift up your name, being the God that you are. We ask you just now your blessings upon this meeting. May we do things pleasing to you. We ask your blessings upon all the people that is sick in our county, dear Lord. And again, let's remember our first responders, our city police, our state police, our county deputy sheriffs, all the volunteer firemen, all the people that's on the ambulances and stuff. Look over with your protective hand. We pray, dear God, that you'd be upon them today. And all of our soldiers that's on foreign soil, we ask you, Lord, to bless them and bring them back safely home. We ask all these things in the name of Jesus Christ and for his sake. Amen.
Amen. Meeting come to order. Roll call, please.
Judge Deskins?
Yes.
Magistrate Anderson?
Here.
Magistrate Compton?
Here.
Magistrate Murphy?
Here.
Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
Here.
Magistrate Varney?
Here.
Leo, would you lead us in the prayer?
It's okay.
Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Acknowledgement, receipt of the Pike County Jailers 2018-19 budget. Brian?
Yeah, I'll have copies for you. It's just my proposed budget. Any questions? Don't care to answer any questions?
You got copies for me?
I got copies for you. I'll summarize it real quick. Last year's total budget was $4.5 million. This year's is $4.9 million, but it is the increases in health insurance, retirement, and that drove it up. It's the numbers that I get together is my expenditures and my revenue. My revenue is actually up $344,042 over last year's revenue. And what that is that's just increasing the Class Ds. I'm getting more paying customers in the jail with my Class D program and the federal program and the U.S. Marshal program that pays the county. And as far as the expenditures, everything's pretty much the same other than my food. Last year, they budgeted $300,000 for the total budget on the food, and them numbers was, when I took over in November, we still had, what is that, about 7-8 months to go in the fiscal year, and on my $300,000 budget, they was already at $244,000. So my food budget was way underestimated, so it went from $300,000 to $450,000. But with everything said and done, my numbers this year, I think, is $4,900 more on my total budget than it was last year, putting in that $150,000 for the additional food, and I had to put another $100,000 in my maintenance and repairs because I got my central control room, which is computerized, that controls all the opening and closing of the doors and our sprinkler system. Everything that's controlled in that jail is in the central control room, and my board's going down. So I had to put $100,000 in it to make sure that if it goes down, I had the funds there. But I went in and I took a lot. I took $30,000 out of my home incarceration program. I took $50,000 off my jail cleaning supplies, Hillman, to try to offset that. So that's my budget in a summary. Any questions?
Ryan, do we have a copy of your budget?
Yeah, Jonda's got copies, and I can make copies and leave with Jenny, but I know Jonda's got copies. She texted me this morning and told me.
So you're gonna be probably about 400,000 more?
No, I'll bring in 400,000 more in revenue than what come in last year. And with all the hits, I can give you the numbers, Hillman. Like for instance, last year, the 17-18 fiscal year, the county matched $290,000 for retirement for all the jail workers. With the increase, this year is going to be 404,000. Them numbers I can't control. That's so there's a couple of them that's going to come in significantly higher. I know Kelly Harden's here to talk about the insurance, and and I'm assuming that that the increase on the insurance is in this budget too, if there's going to be any, Kelly. I don't know if there, but I just want to be proactive, and if they are, I want to make sure my budget reflects it.
So you feel comfortable with the budget you have now? Talking to Jonda, you won't need any extra.
Hillman, I think the budget that's here, and I know y'all just acknowledging it, and I know when you all sit down to do your final budget, you'll go over this, and if there's anything that you want to cut, you can cut. But I feel very comfortable with this number. Like I said, the only thing in it that's additional above and beyond is that 100,000 for my central control board. And if it goes down, and I'm not going to use it until it goes down.
But we're going to probably talk about the budget here after a while.
Yeah.
And, we've discussed, and when you were here, we also discussed eliminating the occupational tax.
Yeah.
Would that have an effect on your budget if that happened?
I think if you eliminate the occupational tax, it would hinder somewhat, but I could survive, Hillman. I mean, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to, like for instance, we have the U.S. Marshal program over there. Currently, we have roughly 20 U.S. Marshal inmates. The feds pays the county $35 a day for every U.S. Marshal prisoner we have. And me and Dexter and Jason sit down and started looking at that, and we kind of researched what are they paying other detention centers. And I can't go into them numbers with you because the Department of Corrections and the federal government asked me not to quote numbers, but I've asked for a significant increase. And just kind of bring it to perspective, if I get what I asked for, last year this was off the top of my head, I actually got the number right here. Last year, the U.S. Marshals paid the county $255,500. That's based on the $35 a day, Hillman. If I get my increase, that $255 is going to go for up to $438,000, which would be an additional $182,500 that's coming to the county. That's my goal. My goal moving forward with the jail is try to make good, sound business decisions to bring income in to try to offset what negative budget that we'll have at the jail. So I'm trying my best to bring in as much revenue as I can. And to give you another example, on our Class D payments, these are numbers that we took straight from the billing. In last year's budget, it was budgeted at $845,000. The state of Kentucky would pay the county for housing state inmates. When I started over there, I met with Jason and Dexter, and the numbers was way down. I mean, and that's what feeds revenue into this court to help me run that jail. Them numbers was way down, and we sit down, we started making calls and trying to get our numbers up. And in the 4 months that I've been over there, It's went up, just to kind of give you an example, it's went from 808, sorry, let me get the number here, $800,000 to $944,557. You know, that's an additional $144,000 that's coming in that wasn't last year. So, you know, I think I can make this. I think I can make the jail self-efficient, Hillman. I'm doing my best.
I think you can too, and I appreciate you putting on another crew to go out and take a lot of cost off the county on projects that we need to do. But, you know, in the school we had there last week, they were talking about states trying to let people out early, eliminate their enrollment in their jails. Yeah. And I don't know what kind of effect that'll have on you, but, you know, we're kind of concerned about letting people out when they should be in.
Yep.
But I just had that question because we're going to be doing some budget discussions here after a while, and I think you've got it the way you want it there.
I think this next year, with more work into driving these numbers, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised next year how many more state work release we have here, how much additional we get on the U.S. Marshal fees. We're doing our best over there, and I know the need that this court needs. I mean, I know you're all about ready to go on the budget, and every bit that I can bring in from there to offset what y'all got to do here will make it easier on you guys. And that's truly what I'm trying to do.
When will you find out, Brian, about the marshal's fee? You get that?
I submitted that, Bobby. It's been about a month ago, ain't it, Jason? We submitted it. And something else that I've submitted too. Currently, there's another county that does all the federal transports. So what that means is if a federal agency needs to transport a prisoner from federal court to any other county, this other county right now is contracted out to go out and get these prisoners, and they go back to their county jail, sit overnight, and then they transport them out from that next day. We're requesting Pike County to have that contract. That means we can bring 2 more people on, 2 more jobs in this county, and every bit of that's 100% reimbursed through the federal government. It won't cost the taxpayers of this county anything, the court anything. It'll just bring more revenue into this county and create at least 2 more jobs. So I'm kind of excited about that. And hopefully, Bobby, next 30 days we should hear about both.
Okay. All right, what about your scanning machine, your x-ray scan or whatever that you got over there?
It's working out. It's working out excellent. We're using it every day. We're finding tobacco. We're finding, like for instance, the other day, I had to change some of the things that we did. You know, when I started over there, you know, we had 48 employees that was working at the jail, and when I redid the schedule, I had 3 or 4 employees that was getting 0 hours. I eliminated the overtime, and there was 3 or 4 employees that I just didn't have hours for. And then when we put this full body scanner in, what they was doing, Bobby, that you'd have 20 inmates down there, and you know, after a strip search, they'd go into the full body scanner, and then when they'd come out, they'd have to exit around other inmates. So last week, what we did is we started a drug prevention team at the jail. They didn't have to hire anybody additional. We got the same amount of employees as we had the day I started. So we have 3 employees, and what they do is one runs the scanner. That's his job. He runs the scanner. The second one does the strip searching, and the third one's a handler. After the inmate is scanned, the handler takes the inmate and takes him to a cell. So they have no interaction. And after scanning, what they do is they go into the jail, and they'll have 3 or 4 hours every day. They go into cells and they search their belongings. They pat them down. They just really go in and try to remove all contraband from the cells. We started that last week, and last week alone we found Suboxone in the cells. We found razor blades in the cell. and we found tattoo machines in the cells. So using this drug prevention team, Bobby, and the full body scanner, I really think it's going to make a huge, huge difference in the contraband inside that jail.
And, you know, when we got that, Brian, I think it was like a loan to you.
Yes.
Commissary's going to be taking care of.
Yes, I've already made, I know one payment, if not two payments, back already to the fiscal court. First of every month, you'll get my check.
So, and that's, you figured that in your budget too, right?
Yes,
And your
it's
jail canteen.
jail canteen.
It's $120,000, it's $10,000 a month.
Good deal. Good job. Good job, Brian.
Brian, we miss you awful bad up here.
I miss being over here, Hillman, I really do. It's two different jobs, working here and being over there. I feel very blessed to have the opportunity to work here, and I feel very blessed to be able to perform that job, and I'm just grateful to be here.
Not taking anything away from Herbie, he's still in the learning process.
Herbie, I'll say this.
He's trying to get caught up with what he left back years ago.
Hey, and Brian, I'll have to say one thing on Herbie. He's better cooking you.
Oh, yeah. I'll say this. I hope Herbie don't get mad at me. I seen him on the streets a couple weeks ago, and well, it's been a couple months ago, and I said, Herbie, I said, how's it going? He said, it's going good. I said, I'm praying for you, Herbie. And he said, Brian, are you really? And I said, I really am. He said, are you down on your knees praying hard for me? I said, I am, Herbie. So, any other questions?
Just keep the good work up.
Guys, appreciate you.
All right, Brian, thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill.
I need a motion to acknowledge.
Motion.
Got a second? Roll call, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Compton?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy? Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
Yes.
Magistrate Varney?
Yes.
Judge Diskins?
Yes. All right. Update on the 2018 health insurance renewal. Kelly?
Bend this down a little bit. I'm not quite as tall. Thank you, Judge, and I appreciate the court letting me address you today. I don't have any numbers today. This is more of an update on what's going on. We should have numbers around the 1st of April, the first couple of weeks of April. I did hand out 2 pieces of material, and one is just talking points. I'm going to go not line by line, but there's a few items I want to hit to prepare you with. And then there's a second one that looks a lot fancier. And if you don't mind, open up to a page. It's about 3 pages in. It says Top 10 Claimants. I want to look at that. The front of it looks like this. Has Keiko on the front of it. But about 3 or 4 pages in, if you look, there's one that says Top 10 Claimants for the year, and it has bar charts. And as you're looking for that, one of the indicators we're always watching is called loss ratio. Loss ratio simply is this: for every dollar we send in, how much does Anthem have to send out? So 100% loss ratio would mean if we sent $1 into Anthem, they sent $1 out. We like to be running around 80. So for every dollar we send in, they send out 80 cents. That gives them 20 cents to run the business and their overhead and profit. Right now, as it sits today, we're running at 204%. So for every dollar we send in, they send out 2. Clearly, that's not where we want to be, which would be an initial indicator of a really bad renewal this cycle. However, the reason I ask you to move to go to this page is we have 2 large claims that have significantly impacted this. We had one claim, and these, by the way, these numbers are just through December. So there's a lag when I get the information. Through December, we had one claim that was $620,000, and a second claim it's about $430,000, collectively about $890,000. At that 204% loss ratio, if I take these 2 claims out, we're running at 78. 78 is where we want to be, right? That's a good number. 200 is the bad number. So my job is, between now and the next time I come to visit you, is to make sure the insurance companies realize 2 things: that one of these claims is the person is no longer a part of the health plan. So that claim's over. And the second one, we predict that that claim will roll off at the end of June. So I expect to have a fairly significant increase in our beginning. I think the initial number will come back high, but I've now got data in which I can go back and say, of these two claims that we know drove us from 78% loss ratio to 200, one's completely gone, the other one's going to be leaving somewhere around the end of June. That collectively, I think, will allow us to get back down to what I'm thinking should be 3 to 5% increase. In my world, that's what 78% tells me. 200% tells me a 30 or 40% increase. So I've already shared with those that are going to get this initial renewal. Don't panic when you get it, because it's not going to be pretty. But we've got some tools that we're going to go back and we're going to be working with Anthem. I also suggested to Deputy Judge Deskins that we go and market this year. We're with Anthem, and Anthem's a great company, but it doesn't hurt to go back and see what Humana and United Healthcare will do. So I think that we're going to go ahead and get everything ready so that when we get a renewal and our information in, that we can go ahead and market this and play one against the others. We want to make sure we get the best deal possible. No money's tight with the fiscal court, and we want to have great insurance for the employees, but it's got to be affordable too. Again, not asking for any action today, just giving you some updates on where we are. And one other item that I will share with you is that 2 years ago, I started something called data analytics, and you may remember me talking about this in the past. It's a program normally that we charge for. I needed it here, and I knew the fiscal court, the money was tight, so we just put it in place. And essentially what that allows me to do is we download all the claims data into some software that allows us to slice and dice that information. That's the reason I can pick out these two claims, know exactly what's going on with them, know exactly when he dropped off, know exactly, so that I can go back and negotiate with the carriers. So data analytics is going to prove to us, I think this year, it's going to be invaluable in what it's going to be able to allow us to do in getting a decent renewal in face of what I think is going to be a very ugly renewal when we start. Not great news that you always want to hear. Bad news is it's going to be a bad renewal. The good news is we've got tools that we're going to be able to go and fight this with, and ultimately I think that we'll come out with a decent renewal. And decent in my world, unfortunately, 10% and under is a good renewal in the world of health insurance. I know that's not what I like to hear, but that's the truth in our world. And if I keep it 5 or under, then we've had a great year. Last year we had a 3% increase. If I could keep it around that, 3 to 5, in the face of a 200% loss ratio, it would be a great year. So, any questions from the court?
Yeah, Kelly.
Yes, sir.
Looking at the drugs thing there and stuff, most of our money is being spent on medication for diabetes. Is that pretty common in eastern Kentucky or for other?
Actually, you're a little higher than average. Diabetes is your #1 condition. And in the talking points, I actually didn't go through that, but diabetes is your #1 condition. In a 10-month time period, we spent $75,000 just on diabetes-related drugs and testing. So it is definitely your #1 condition. It's certainly something we need to keep a watch on. And so outside of our 2 great big claims that are outliers, they're unusual, those 2 claims, nothing we couldn't have forecasted. They were just unfortunate accidents. Our #1 issue is diabetes.
Now, is there anything that we could do to help? I mean, do we need maybe some training for people and some
absolutely
information about diabetes?
You know, we have bounced around ideas of doing some kind of wellness type environment where we reward employees for coming and learning. Diabetes is like any other disease. The more you understand it, the more you know it, the more you know how to take care of it, the better off we're all going to be. As a matter of fact, this software allows me to know what our 3 chronic conditions. There's 3 chronic conditions that we measure. One being diabetes, we look at that. The second one being high blood pressure, and the third being high cholesterol. Those are 3 items that we know can be controlled through lifestyle. We also know those 3 items also what drives big claims down the road. So when I look at that, we have 105 that do not have any chronic conditions, any of those 3. We have 114, more than half, that have at least one up to all 3. So you can save at least 50% of our population, slightly over 50% of our insured population has at least 1, 2, or 3 of those conditions. So the more we can do to educate for them to stay healthy and change lifestyles and make sure they're taking their prescriptions and going to the doctor is going to save us all money in the long run. Absolutely.
Hey, Kelly?
Yes.
I was looking at this chart. You've got, on the third one down, diabetes, and an amount, and then next to the last, you have diabetes listed again.
On the top part, on the RX chart, or is that?
On the claimants,
Oh, top claimants? Yeah, so, let me flip over to that, sorry, I don't have that in front of me. Top 10 claimants. Yeah, and so these are individual people. Now, this says diabetes and diabetes. That means that's the primary diagnosis for that person. There may be other, what we call comorbidities, other items going on. So when we look at the third one down, we see 32,239. It says diabetes. That is the main diagnosis code, but there may be other things going on.
okay.
Okay? But yeah, if you look down through here, you can see hypertension, heart disease, diabetes are, that are predominant in our top 10. Now, I'm going to exclude number 1 and number 2 because, again, those are unfortunate accidents that you can't predict. But almost everything below that is a medical condition that lifestyle has some effect on.
Kelly, we thank you for coming up and taking the time to explain this to us.
I appreciate doing business with Pike County. I was saying earlier that I work with fiscal courts all over the state, and I want to say that that the employees here, when I do open enrollments, they are the nicest employees I deal with anywhere in the state. They are always so nice and respectful, and I appreciate your employees. They are just really, really nice people, and I appreciate you guys allowing us to serve. And
We appreciate you going through all the other insurance agencies and recommending the best one for us.
Sir.
And I understand that you deal with Humana and all the other
Correct.
ones, so
Correct.
it's nothing that you're not trying to do to get the rates down.
Yeah, I'm gonna, everything there is for me to squeeze these rates down, I promise you I'm gonna do. It'll start with data, good data, and I'm gonna have that data in a way that nobody else can have it, and then, of course, we're gonna use competition. Competition's good, right? So we're gonna do everything I can to make sure these rates are solid and are fair, and the best insurance I can get for your employee base. I promise you. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kelly. All right. Okay, presentation of a proclamation declaring the month of April 2018 as Pride Spring Cleanup Month. Bobby Varney, would you please read the proclamation?
Yes, sir. Whereas the natural beauty of southern and eastern Kentucky is a treasure for its residents and tourists, and whereas good stewardship of this distinctive environment is beneficial for the health, enjoyment, and economic prosperity of the residents of southern and eastern Kentucky, and whereas the Pride Initiative encouraged residents of southern and eastern Kentucky to take personal responsibility for the good stewardship of the region's exceptional environment, and whereas the annual Pride Spring Cleanup is an opportunity for residents to demonstrate personal responsibility by volunteering to pick up litter along roadsides, and whereas Pike County is participating in the Pride Spring Cleanup by organizing cleanup events and recruiting volunteers, now therefore I, William M. Destins, Pike County Judge Executive, and the Pike County Fiscal Court hereby proclaim the month of April 2018 as Spring Cleanup Month in Pike County, Kentucky. Be it further resolved that we encourage all residents of Pike County to participate in Pride Spring Cleanup Month. Witness our hands this the 27th day of March 2018. And I would like to add to that this Pride group, I'm proud of the Pride group and what they do. We've had to go back over and pick up garbage in the same spot a lot, but we're doing that. And it's not as bad as it was 10 years ago, Bob. It's getting better. We still got a long way to go, but it's getting better, and I'm really proud of what they do, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. authorization to enter into a municipal lease for 8 SUVs for Pike County Senior Home Delivery Program. Frankie, Jonda.
Judge, I was asked to put out to bid 8 SUVs for the Pike Senior Program. They're going to use them for home delivered meal programs, and they're going to reimburse the county out of their monthly supplement. I don't know exactly what the price will be until we put it out to bid and get the bids back, but we're estimating somewhere around $20,000 for each vehicle. So 8 of them would be $160,000. It would be a 5-year, 60-month municipal lease with a $1 buyout. But to be a municipal lease, it would have to go through the county's name, and we could deduct the payment from the monthly supplement that we give to the Pike Senior Program. But I would need court approval, enter into that lease, and then I could put it out to bid to present at the next court meeting.
Judge, I've got some questions on the vans. Diane, I know that you need them or you wouldn't ask for them. And also I know that we battled a bad situation a year or so ago by having to close down some of our senior citizen centers. And I don't want to see this court get back into that situation to where we got to choose between buying a van and closing down a senior citizen center. And I know you don't want that to happen. So the question I've got to ask is this going to affect the programs in your new budget that you are going to be coming up with in a few days? Do you think that y'all have enough money in the budget to keep all the centers going? You know, we definitely don't want to get into that shouting and arguing and disagreement on whether it be a van or a center that will be closed down.
No, sir, it will not, Victor. We actually have the money, and as our funding right now, our centers, we always spend. Now, I know you asked me the 4 meetings ago about the occupational tax.
Yeah.
In the event the occupational tax was to be deleted, then that would take $100,000 per week. Then we would have the money. But I don't think getting the home delivery meal vans would have anything funded. What it is our vans, most of them came from Sandy Valley Transportation. And that was like, when I was here before. They already had 100,000 miles on them, and Sandy Valley owed them to us for it all. And Shelby Valley home delivered meal van that she was driving on the road a couple weeks ago had, the frame had been welded twice. The door fell. And Jeff told me from the garage that a new door couldn't be put back on it because it wouldn't fit on the frame. Now, the Black Roof home delivered meal van is going to, no, it is kind of like, it's either buy new home delivery meal vehicles or stop the road. But in the event that centers would have to combine with each other, we would still need 8 home delivery meal vehicles because we would continue the home delivery meal program even if there was centers that had to shut their doors. We would combine with another center that's supposed to.
Are y'all getting eight vans? Is that what you're gonna get?
It's 8 SUVs.
Okay.
They're little vehicles that about 32 miles to the gallon.
All right, I need a motion.
Diane, you know, in no way do I want any of the seniors think that I'm against their being able to get a new van. I talked to the director over at Freeburn, and she said, I guess you're on board to help us get a new vehicle to deliver. I said, yeah. But I'm not on board to close down another center. And, you know, the possibility, if we can, we're going to try to do away with the occupational tax. And if we do that, then it's putting you right back in the situation you just addressed. You'll be $100,000 short. So that means that you're going to have to close or combine some centers. Is that not right?
In the event the occupational tax is deleted, it would take $100,000 from our budget.
Well, is this something that we can wait until we get our budget, see where we stand, or is it something you need right now?
It's actually an emergency.
Yeah. But now, me and the judges and any other magistrates that wants to are going to try to go to Frankfurt first of just a few days, first of next month, and look at some used vehicles like we gave you last year. And, you know, I don't want to stand in the way of getting anything. But on the other hand, I don't want to be the one that votes to close the center or combine the center. You know, I know the money is going to be tight, and what bingo money you're making, I guess you're going to use it to help make these payments. And, you know, I'm going to let these other masters have their input, but I've told you how I feel. You know, I'm not for closing another center down.
Do you need 8 right now, Diane? Could we get,
It was cheaper to go ahead and do all of them with the same lease than buy them out.
So if you just got 6 instead of 8,
No, the payment wasn't good.
okay.
you know, we're getting ready to look at this budget and stuff, and there's some things that we do want to do, but I don't want to obligate ourselves and then the recourse, like Hillman said, the recourse being shutting down a center, you know.
Well, the only thing is, I don't think the 8 SUVs will have anything to do with shutting down centers. It's the $100,000 that the occupational tax gives us. So, I mean, if you take that, one way or another, you're gonna have to close.
If you don't,
Whether we have the vans or whether we don't.
So if you get the vans, you're gonna be able to make the payment, and that's not, and then if we end up potentially repealing the tax, then you're gonna, we'll address the other issue then.
The $100,000 won't keep the centers open, is that what you're saying?
The $100,000, we would have to close probably 2 centers.
So you're gonna close them right now anyway if the occupational tax don't go through. And then you're gonna have 2 vans sitting there that will not be in use, is that right?
No, that's what I said, we will continue the home delivery meal program from another center that's close to, say for instance, Fiscal was close. And Blackberry would do home delivered meals for all that area. We would keep the home delivered meal driver, so we're gonna have to have the vehicles, whether all centers are open or whether they're not, to continue the meal program throughout the county.
But it sounds like that we're projected to close 2 centers if the occupational tax is gone. And we're gonna have 8 vehicles. And if you close 2 down, you've got 2 new vehicles sitting there, not using, right?
No, sir, that's what I'm saying. The home delivery meal person from, say for instance, Fiscal, would go to Blackberry and would deliver meals to the Phelps area from the Blackberry center in the event that we had to close the center. We would not let anyone that's on the home delivered meal program lose a meal. That meal would still be provided from another center that
I still don't understand. So you're gonna have 8 vehicles. You're gonna have 8 home delivery meals, and you're only gonna have like 6 centers.
I truly hope that we don't have to make that.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. But I mean, I'm looking at that as what you've just said. Regardless whether or not we buy the vehicles or not, if the occupational tax is eliminated, then you're looking at closing 2 senior citizen centers or combining them with other areas.
It will take $100,000 from our budget.
Well, I need a motion for approval.
Well, we're discussing it right now, Judge, and I don't know if these guys over here want to say much about how they feel about it. You know, me and Bob and Jeff kind of talked about how we feel, and
I'd rather wait and look at the budget. Look at the budget, see how the budget runs.
Let me ask you something, Diane. You said it's an emergency. Tell me, I mean, if we don't approve this today, what are we looking at?
Bill, I'm using transportation things. It's like it should be built. She has bought the more about transportation. It uses a lot more gas. Too big, really, to get that some of the hollows that we get. But that's the emergency situation we're in. One of the vehicles that bought at the auction last year is sitting at the top of the wasn't working. So I'm minus one vehicle at Pike. They're using their transportation vans here in the city. The Blackberry van, I mean, and the note called me last week and said, you didn't really know what they was going to do, there was crazy in the world. So it's kind of like every center, this is important. But, you know, I understand if y'all want to wait for the election. I understand. And we will work something.
Diane, do we not have some vehicles sitting out back or outside the building that's not being used? Frankly, it's all the vehicles in use right now that we have, that maybe she could borrow one or use one, or
I really don't know.
until we
You
have
to
time to look over this.
I could call over the garage and see if they got any sitting over there, or
I know they did have a Jeep sitting out here, and
the animal shelter took it. That Jeep Cherokee,
yeah.
yeah, the animal shelter's got it.
What about the,
It's a piece of junk.
but now, we're going down next week, can't we, Bill, and look and see what they have to offer down there.
Yeah.
And they told Bobby that they would probably have some good vehicles 1st of April, didn't they?
1st of April.
So, you know, I don't want you to think, Diane, that it's my feelings. I don't want to go through that again. It was pure trouble. And we had a lot of division in our centers over that. And we're just now getting back to where we were. I mean, what I can find out, Freeman and Phelps Center is doing really good. They're picking up numbers. And, you know, that was my concern.
I understand, I really do. Thank you.
Well, you,
We'll just let you work on
you what now?
Wait till they work, while work on the budget and see what.
Okay, well, we'll bring it up next meeting.
Do we have a meeting next week?
Pardon?
We have a, next Tuesday?
We got a budget workshop here today, I think, that we're gonna work on, don't we?
No,
Not working on a budget today?
no. Maybe we can have something next week.
And Diane, you probably need a SUV, is that what you need? Not a car? I know Bob got a SUV Jeep down there a few years ago, and it was awful good, wasn't it, Bob? And, you know, if we can find something that, right now, it's a critical time for all of us.
Well, let's go down next week and look at the vehicles and decide what we need to do. All right. Approval of a contract and payment for consulting work on an emergency basis. Herbie, would you explain?
Well, that's, Judge, that's when we had the emergency over at the garbage.
Yeah.
And we had to get Charles Carlton. Luckily, he found an old map that wasn't even the Department of Mines and Minerals didn't have to verify that there was a old deep mine over there. And when we found that, we've had to go into getting different engineers to say that that deep mine was what caused the flood. So that all of Mr. Carlton's work has been related to that. Plus, he went to Frankfurt with all of us and really carried the ball for Pike County. I think his bill there is reasonable for the services that he's rendered.
All right. Well, it's definitely a leak from an old abandoned mine, and it's about from the top of the mountain up there to the fill area. It's about 50 feet between them, and it's pouring out there, not from the top. Bobby, you have any more information on that?
Charles is working with AML, trying to find out if they're going to try to help or not. And also, Hal Rogers' offices are working with us on that also. And so Charles has been real helpful because he has some mining industry experience in the past, and that he was able to talk with AML, FEMA, and those that we're working with. And also some violations that we had. Some of that was pertaining to the slide that we had.
And he answered those questions that they wanted to answer.
Charles answered all of those questions, and we still have some violations related to that Charles is having to deal with, so he's been very helpful to us.
Thank you, Bob.
Now, I got a question. We owe Charles X amount of dollars right now, right?
Right.
Do we have any kind of projection, Rydell, of how much longer we're going to need his services, Bob?
No, we don't know, Bob, at this time, because, you know, the wheels turn so slow in Frankfurt,
Yeah.
so I don't really know. I have no idea.
Herbie, did you draw the contract up?
No, we don't have a contract. If you need one, oh, we do, yeah, we do have.
Yes.
That's, yeah, I didn't draw it up, but I looked at it, and it's reasonable. I think his rate's $22 an hour.
Yeah.
I don't think you could get an engineer to work for less than $100 an hour, is what he's been doing.
Yeah. But you have looked over the contract?
Yes, I have.
Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah.
Judge, if we owe the man, I make a motion that we pay him.
Yeah.
Well, I need a motion for approval.
We gotta find out how much we owe him first, don't
It's $1,900.
$1,900, that's how many hours?
Once the
$100.
treasurer gets back, can you authorize a check that we could go ahead and pay him? Because you can do that under treasurer's business, and just, you know, where it's a special meeting,
Okay.
you'll have to approve the check separate.
That was
But you're
for services probably from the first week in March through, and then we went over to Winchester and looked at the frac tanks. He and I picked one out, and it's been delivered, and Charles took care of all that stuff, all the delivery on that stuff, and
He is also working, remember I mentioned to the court before about a 300,000-gallon tank that they want us to
Yeah.
have. Well, when we went to Frankfurt,
Yeah, I'll
they
just hire him
used us
full-time.
a pond.
That'd be cheaper.
If we could do that, so he's working with Summit Engineering on trying to come up with a plan on that and what the cost would be versus more frac tanks that they would make us purchase. And also Charles works on an average of 6 hours a day is what he's working.
He also had to clear our secondary plan in case it went down with the 3 areas that who'd he clear those with, Bobby? The people where we take the water
Yeah.
Okay.
to those
yeah.
places.
Yeah, the Division of Water. And also the geologist that was up on the hill that they sent, he's been dealing with those too.
That guy from down West Kentucky, he's dealt with him, talking the technical things that they have to talk, that I don't understand, and Bobby understands some, but the technical language, I just didn't understand some of it.
Herbie, is he a certified engineer?
I have no idea.
You know, Bob?
I don't know if he is or not, but I just know he's had experience in that field.
Well, it sound like all the recommendations y'all gave him, man, we might need to look at hiring him on the full-time basis. You know, so we all the time needing some engineer work done, and
I'll find out from him. I gave him a little space over in my office today that he could work from while we're attending these. I'll ask him to find out.
What? And right now, what we gonna do is to approve this contract, right?
That's right.
Prove the pay.
Got a motion.
The agenda does say and payment of, so we could go ahead and make it the same order. It'd be okay. And we won't have to bring up a separate
Yeah. Because
Well-
it says and
and
pay.
payment for.
Yeah.
Well, we need a
Charlie's motion be to approve the contract and payment.
I was thinking
We
we
need
ought
a
to pay him,
motion for
yes.
approval.
Second.
Motion.
I'll second.
Motion and second.
Roll call, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Compton?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy?
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
yes.
Magistrate Barney?
Yes.
Judge Fiscal?
Yes. Frankie, awarding of bids? Do what?
Can I pass on awarding the bids until after executive session? I've got to go print off an email to pass out to the court.
Okay. All right, magistrate's comments. Anderson?
Yeah, Judge, I got a couple things, actually. I've got a summary on the utility management group, on the records, that I'd like to read. Any questions afterwards, I'd be glad to answer them. Make sure I got my papers in order. Do what? Okay. We're going to wait. I talked to Kyle where we've got some pending litigation, and he thinks we may not need to. I don't think we need to yet.
There's probably something there that might have to go in the motion.
Yeah, that's what we were discussing. So I'll just,
You can do it after the executive session once we've discussed everything and see if
Okay.
it's relevant or not.
Do we need a motion for approval?
no.
No, just,
Oh,
No, well, we may discuss it after we come out of executive session, but we're going to discuss this anyway in executive
Okay.
session, according to Kyle. The second thing I'd like to talk about, Sandy, if you could clear up, we've had some questions regarding I reckon the motorized trail grant. And could you come to the podium and please explain just exactly what that grant was for and why we had to spend the money?
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sandy.
The court had an old coal severance grant that was, had not been spent. I think over the last 8 or 10 years, you had spent $12,000 or $14,000 from that grant. We have been told by the Department for Local Government that any grants that are out there need to be spent before June 30th. Now, there's some other restrictions in there about when we have to have the paperwork in, but they have to be spent before June 30th or they go back into the pool. That grant was specific when it was granted that it needed to be used on trail building or something to do with building trails in Pike County, because as you all have said several times, we've been working on that a long time. It was our recommendation that you spend those dollars on trail building and maintenance equipment. And to the best of my knowledge, that's what that list of equipment was for, that you approved at a prior court meeting.
Sandy, how old was that money?
I don't know, Herbie, but it was.
2008, Herbie.
Okay, and it had to be spent specifically on the trails program.
That is correct.
We couldn't go out and buy something with it.
You could not.
That was unrelated to trails, is that correct?
That is correct. You have to have a specific scope of work for those dollars. It had been modified 3 or 4 years ago so that it could be spent on trail building and maintenance equipment.
And if we hadn't have done something by June, would we have lost that money?
Those dollars would have gone back into the pool.
And
April
we,
the 15th, really, Herb.
okay, we wouldn't have had the discretion of spending them for something else. Okay.
I think the confusion was a lot of people thought that money came out of the general fund.
It did not.
Right.
You probably will have the option of those dollars being spent on other projects after the new year begins. But it would mean a new application for whatever those projects are. And of course, my understanding is that the budget language has language in there that will require the same process that Pike County is using now to be used for all the coal counties, in that the legislators and all of the court has to agree on projects that are awarded.
So we couldn't buy police cruisers with that money? Or we couldn't?
To the best of my knowledge, you could not.
Or we couldn't repair the roof with that money? It had to be spent. And Sandy, if you can remember, we had 2 grants about that time it came about. And we used one over at Hatfield-McCoy Park to establish a trailhead with the money and build a bathhouse and establish a trailhead there at that park with part of the grant that we had for that area. And this money was designated, I think, for up in the Millard area, is that right?
To the best of my knowledge, that's the
And
same
they
program.
failed to be able to find property to build a trailhead.
That is correct.
Is that right? So this money is been in there for 12 years, 10 years, and they used some of it over on Fedge Creek, I think, to clean up that trailhead and over in your area, Leo, and establish a trailhead there at the Fedge Creek Park there for you last year. And Lisa, I think, was able to get that money redesignated from the name that it was designated to where they could use it out in the county for other things. But you know, Sandy, I don't know why it's so hard to promote tourism in Pike County. You know, people don't seem like they're really wanting to see this happen. And, you know, we had a man here a few weeks ago from over South Memphis, Butch, was it West?
Beatty.
Butch Lady, and he has spent a lot of money over there establishing things for tourism. He's built cabins and he's built things that he can rent four-wheelers and things. And you know, we talk about promoting our tourism and that would be a good economic development if we could get this trail established. And I just can't figure out why every time that we try to do something for the trails and the tourism that people object to it. this money would go back into the pool, like you said. And it's no telling where it would end up at. Is that not right?
It would end up wherever a project needed to be that the court and the legislators could agree on.
Yeah, but how long would it take that money to get back into the system? You know, they only approve it, what, once or twice a year?
It would be after July.
After July. That's just what I, wanted to say about the money that I know of. It was laying there and we were gonna lose it. And Bob went and got his picture took over there, and I guess the Facebook blowed everything up.
As it always does. 2008, we got that original grant. Then in 2013, we asked for a different scope of work on it, which brought it out to be used on trails, plural, not just one trail that we were talking about. And that's when we got able to spend some of that money in other places, because it was designated just for one area.
It was.
And then in 2013, we got them to agree with us that we could spend it on trails, plural, in Pike County.
That is correct.
And they told us, well, you got to really, April the 1st, it's April the 15th, really. After April the 15th, we can't spend that money, and it does go back to the pool, so that's what we done. And Sandy, we bought a small excavator to start making trails with and making ditches for them and all the work that it's got to do. We bought a small John Deere gator that will be the workhorse on those trails, carrying stuff to it. And then we bought this side by side, because somebody's got to map that trail, and I don't see anybody walking and doing all that mapping. So they had to have some way to get there. They had to have something to get on that. And that was the reason the three pieces of equipment that we bought. Not only will that side by side map the trail and get it started, that side by side we use by this county to police that trail. Because a lot of our property owners we're talking to, already told us, now, if they start throwing litter out up there, we'll shut it down, and I don't blame them. And that's the reason we need a ride like that we can have an employee to ride and check this and find out if this last group that was up there, did they leave litter up there? And we can do something about it. So, yeah, I'm sorry that there was a misunderstanding and all of that, and that we were taking money that should have been used to buy a police car, and we bought a side-by-side with it. I'm sorry for that understanding, but I will stand up for what we done. We done it for economic development. All you have to do is go across the river, Tug River in Mingo County, West Virginia. They've got the Hatfield-McCoy Trail over there, and their share of the money, one county, was $984,000 last year. Well, it'd be nice to have that in Pike County, wouldn't it? It was 50,000 permits sold, $50 a piece for the Hatfield-McCoy Trail, which it runs through 5 or 6 counties over there. Mingo County share was $984,000. So, no, I'm not taking back water or anything for what I done. I'm sorry that there was a miscommunication, that I didn't explain it better, but that's the only thing I'll apologize for. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Sandy, wasn't there 2 pots of money that were $100,000 apiece? One was designated as fish trap trails, which we couldn't build trails around fish trap, which got renamed, and then we had the Kentucky Mountain Trail System.
I'm aware of one pot of money. We didn't do any of the work on either of those grants until recently, so I really can't speak to what they originally were.
I think what she's saying is that we had one for the Hatfield-McCoy trail
One
system.
said Kentucky Mountain Trails, and the other said Fish Trap. Fish Trap got renamed because we couldn't do anything around Fish Trap because of the Corps of Engineers and stuff. Yeah, it's already done, but
John, is that where we built the trailhead at the Hatfield-McCoy Park and put the showers in the bathrooms? And
that was a different pot of money for Hatfield-McCoy.
that a different pot?
That was a different pot for Hatfield-McCoy Park.
But we spent that money and put it to where we've got a trailhead once we get it opened up.
I
And
think what some of the people said on the social media was that there's people out here that would volunteer their four-wheelers. Well, that only goes for so long that people don't want to have their stuff tied up till they start wanting you to not use them or pay for doing it. So why shouldn't we have our own, not be restricted or put back because we can't get a hold of something to go do what we need to do on the trails?
Well, we're gonna have it anyway, aren't we? I mean, it's just a.
I think Jim Bevins tried to get a donated, four-wheeler from all the companies, and you wasn't able to do it, was you, Jim? Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, Sandy.
Just a couple quick points of clarification. We approached every four-wheeler shop that sells side-by-sides in this region and asked if they had programs available that provide county use of a side-by-side. We didn't have any takers on that at the local level. There didn't appear to be any national interest. Typically, you got to work through a local dealer for that to take place. The side-by-side I've been using, actually, borrowed side-by-side. A doctor over in Louisiana, Kentucky, has allowed us to use since August of last year. So, the trail system has been using whatever resources we can scrape together, try to get momentum and try to get the economic development started for the water trails, or land trails. I attended a meeting up in the Oklahoma City area last night, a real productive meeting up there with at the Breaks Interstate Park folks up there, city officials there, a lot of riders from the Elkhorn area. Breaks folks said that the Spearhead trail system, which is the Virginia version of the Hatfield-McCoy trail system, which is in West Virginia. Breaks is allowing them to actually put a trailhead through the park, into the park. And one of the requests of that group was they would like to see the county work with the park to get access into the park as well and try to connect in that part of the county some type of Pike County-based trail system over with the trail system in Virginia. Now, there's a couple points that we have to make sure we communicate. One of them deals with the non-motorized status of the Pine Mountain Trail. And number two, there was some legislative changes that noted the Pine Mountain Trail had to be a non-motorized trail, much like the Ford Engineers property around Fish Trap Lake. So there is no proposed changes right now for the Pine Mountain Trail to go motorized. All of the laws that the enforcement folks have to uphold basically say that the Pine Mountain Trail portion of the park has to remain unmotorized. But the upshot is the park and the Parks Commission is receptive to letting other maintained trails go through the park that's not part of the Pine Mountain. And that's a very positive development. So what I'm seeing is whether we're looking at connecting to the Hatfield-McCoy trails in Winston and Make One and Gilbert, and the momentum that we're seeing on that side of the county, or the momentum that we're seeing in other parts of the county, such as up in the Oklahoma City area, that's probably some of the more positive economic development opportunities this county has had in quite some time. You could argue that that may be comparable to an industrial development side of it. I know we need jobs, and we need all different types of jobs, but there's a lot of data that supports ecotourism, and particularly adventure tourism, is a huge economic driver. One of the biggest needs that we have in West Virginia is housing, and places for people to stay. But if you look at economic data, there's a multiplier effect associated with housing starts. Depending on who you read and how you mine that data, I see numbers as low as for every dollar that's spent on a housing project, whether it's rentals or permanent Part of what I've done over the last 6 months is go back and look at the records. There were 4 to 5 genuine efforts this court made and the county made in an effort to try to get sites over near the Fish Trap area, Sales Creek area, Virgie area, Charles. There was some efforts made up there. And for no fault of the counties, when it would come time to try to close a deal, we would have a problem with a land company or maybe a larger business that couldn't get comfortable at the time with the liability laws that were on the books. So, it really wasn't no fault of the county for not being able to find the trail facilities in some of the other parts of the county. As Sandy Runyon can testify on these grants, you've got certain criteria that you have to abide by. If everything doesn't come together properly,
Comment today.
you can't fund that grant. So in this case, it's about to expire, and, court did what they needed to do to vet that and then get the purchase order made. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jimmy.
You want to say anything?
That's all I have. That's all I have, Judge.
All right. Magistrate 2, Mr. Compton.
I have no comments, Judge.
Leo.
Yes, Jack and Earl, you've been in touch with FEMA and NRCS on the river road up there from Mount Hardy to Big Hattie's Creek, all in that.
Yeah, yes, I did. I called last week, and the guy told me the state says a work in progress, basically, what he said.
But to stay on, because you know, some real bad places in the school buses.
Right.
I appreciate it.
Well, he done. Kenneth.
Judge, I just got a few things. One is, I want to compliment our men Saturday on this fast-moving snow that we had come in, and for the expertise they had getting the roads opened up. And we were blessed that the temperature didn't fall and snow melted away and saved us a lot of salt and a lot of work. Jackie, I guess the temperatures was the best thing we had going for us.
Yes, as I was looking at the weather watching it, it showed it was going to, snow was going to change to rain, and the temperature was going to warm up, and I talked to the road foremen, and we thought it was a good decision to save the, money for other things other than wasting the tackles. It would have been a waste the way it turned out. Fortunately, it turned out good.
Well, I got a call at 10 o'clock Saturday night and said we got a tree across the road up here. We need to get it moved. And we were able to get a hold of one of the men and took him a saw, and he opened the road up. And I just hope these things continue to happen out in the county when we have problems that we need to work on and get to quickly.
Yeah, I was down at my store Saturday, and I was solving issues in Leo's area. I was trying to I got hold of somebody there with a tree down. State police had called me, and I had a tree down in another district, and we had 3 down in Danny Random's district. So the men was out taking care of, emergency deed. And one lady called me, was kind of concerned. She was pregnant and had a young child, and I told her, what the decision we had made, and I said, if you've got an emergency, I'll come and get you in my 4-wheel drive personal vehicle and take you where. She said, no, she was all right. She was worrying. But I said, I think things are going to work out where the roads will be safe in just a little while.
And Judge, we got a couple more little issues we want to talk about. I think we had a report from one of the board members that the health department is not wanting to sign a contract or go into the Majestic School over there as of now to start a health department. I've not had any talking to Celebrity, but that was just one of the reports. And I hope that we can find some use for that building, and I think we can. I've contacted a few doctors, and I made a call in to Donovan Blackburn's office, asked if the Pikeville Medical Center could maybe be interested in locating something over there. And I'd like to talk to Walter May. I don't know his conditions right now, but I know he's got a lot of things that he has done in the past to promote the hospital, and he might have some ideas that he could give us to where we can go. And a lot of people have said it would make a good rehab center over there with what we have. And maybe we get with the Appalachian Hospital in Wimpson and see, closer to this, they might have some ideas over there. But our plans is to try to get some jobs in that building and get things going. And Herbie's going to check with the health department in the next few days and let us know where we stand on that situation. And there's a lot of opportunity there, and the building is ready to go.
Him and Donovan Blackmer used to be over the city deal. He's over the pipe one out, and Mr. May is no longer there, I don't think. I
know he's retired, but he's still got a sharp mind. And I called Donovan's office and left a message, and I've not heard back from him. So, we're working on everything we can to try to make use of that building. And Paul, you've done a good job working on it and got it in good shape.
And we prepared a lease, when I prepared a lease, it was very favorable to them, and evidently the doctor that's still over there has put a thumbs down. We're going to find out what's happened, because we were this close to getting it done.
Well, Herbie, he came over and looked at the building, and he was wanting to buy it from the county. He was really impressed with it. And now, I guess, something's happened.
Out this next board
but we'll find out, and I just want to let the people know where we stand on that.
Yeah, Diane, when is the next board meeting?
I'm on the health department board, and there really was not any discussion at the meeting last Tuesday night, except Dr. Randall said, I asked for Shalebra to talk to Shalebra. He will not enter into a lease with Pike County government, and that she had actually tried to call, we're still following her office, but anyway, it was a decision that was final.
Is there any reason?
Well, they said that, kind of like for retirement and all that's going up, it's going up there too, and they was afraid it would cost them a lot of money. And Dr. Randall,
To remodel the building, or?
a lot of money to stay into it.
Just to staff it?
Well, there was no rent.
Herbie,
You can't get a better deal than that.
But now I mean, as far as Dr. Randall is concerned, the board really didn't vote. Dr. Randall was the one that made this decision.
Well, when is the next board meeting? 3 months. Oh, can they call an emergency board meeting? Or why don't you see if you can get that done? I'll work with you on it.
Jim Cecil, the financial officer there, had sent that lease to Frank. That has to be done. But, and that's all the discussion there was they told us they were not doing it.
so you don't know whether or not Frankfurt agreed on the lease?
No, they've not got it back from Frank.
I even marked on the lease, make any changes that you might want to make, so we could look at it and change them. I mean, it was the most favorable lease that you could ever give a tenant.
I'll check with them and see also about special.
Okay.
Diane, they approached the court with this agreement. They wanted to open it up really bad.
Well, when is he leaving?
But we'll move on.
He honestly has said he's going to retire, okay?
When's he going to retire?
October day.
When's his contract up? June? Well, he ain't got much longer, ain't it? if y'all don't agree with the contract. But, another thing, Judge, the Hall of Justice money that we, Jeannie, do we need to talk about it now or wait till a little later? But, we had the money to, overhaul the third floor of the Hall of Justice. And Frankie, I guess you laid out some bids on it, on remodeling, and they came back in more than what money that we had to spend. Is that right?
Do you want me to go ahead and present the bid, and then I can explain it?
Go ahead. I think it'd be a good thing.
Okay. We had a bid opening yesterday for the renovation on the third floor of the Hall of Justice building. We received 2 bids. The first bid was from Elliott Contracting. Base bid was $310,000 even, and they did have a bid bond. Second bid was from Steve Thacker Construction. Base bid was $310,000 even, and they had a bid bond. So we had 2 identical bids, but both bids were above the money that was allotted for that project. So with Summit's help, we started going back to the contractors, and this is kind of like short time that we had to do it because we had the bid opening yesterday at 2. But we had the contractors come back with their best deductions that they could deduct and still make it a feasible project, and present it this morning. So at 9 o'clock this morning, we had another meeting here. Elliott Contracting had deductions listed that totaled $43,229. That reduced their bid down to $266,771. Steve Thacker Construction presented deductions in the amount of $24,750. That reduced his base bid to $285,250. So my recommendation would be to move forward with the project to award the bid to Elliott Contracting with the base bid of $266,771. There's still a chance that there may be an additional $10,000 in deductions that once they get into the project with the electrical and the plumbing that may still be able to be reduced. But this is still above the coal severance project to fund it. The court would be looking at funding about $25,000 additional above the coal severance project at a maximum. And like I said, it may be less depending on if we can come up with some additional deductions once they get into the project. But as of right now, it would be about $25,000.
Well, Frankie, have y'all included Paul on these negotiations on bidding this project out?
I don't know if Paul was involved.
I think it would be to our best interest to include Paul. Me and him talked yesterday, and he had some good ideas that could lower the cost, and I'll let him go ahead and talk to you about that.
No, Summit drawed everything up on that hill when they put it out to bid.
That was after the bid opening yesterday, of things that we could deduct to make it still a feasible project that would still,
What was the requirements on the bidders on this? What did they have to have? Other than that?
They've got a time requirement of June 30th to have the project substantially completed. So there was a time constraint. Like I said, they had to bond the project. Other than that, that's about the only recommendations. They had to have certified plumbers and electricians and things like that to do the work.
Paul, you mentioned some things there yesterday that might get the cost down. You care to share them with them?
We could probably do a lot of, like say, we talked to Terry Rogers about a lot of it yesterday. The painting, we could take care of the painting.
That was one of the things that we took out to come down to this price.
They get their grids up, we could take care of putting the ceiling tile in for them. There's a lot of things we could do with the help from the jail or the inmates that we could get down.
we took that into consideration to get that price down to 43,000. Maybe even finding some, you know, we took into account providing a plumber assistant to eliminate a position there. We took into account providing inmate labor to do additional, like carrying the materials and all that. There's some work that the Public Works would still have to do, and that's just to come down to these numbers.
You've went over everything Paul was mentioned.
Paul wasn't here this morning when we had the deductions presented and so on and so forth. Like I said, we can still work with the contractor, and if there's additional money that he would be willing to do in the project, that we could work out with the contractor and reduce that even more. Like I said, worst case scenario right now, the court would be looking at, they would have to supplement about $25,000. There's a chance $10,000 would come off of that. They were talking about taking out some water fountains, some electrical work that may not have to be done, but you really don't know until you get into the project. And then, like I said, if Paul, you know, through Summit, if we can work out a negotiation with the contractor for some more work that he does with his crew, maybe reduce it even more. But right now, that's where it stands from the time that we had the bid opening till this morning.
Who would oversee that?
Be Summit Engineering, Kevin.
I mean, the Summit would oversee what we're putting into it more than.
Right, right.
And if we put more into it than what we've looked here, then we get to deduct that
Summit
from
will work with the contractor to deduct that off his base bid.
So,
but as of right
can we wait until next week and award this bid?
No.
Yeah, because, I mean, he would.
I don't want to lose the money, but on the other hand, Paul might have some ideas, him and Terry.
And we can, yeah, we can.
But once you award a bid, they ain't gonna come down none. You know that. I mean, if you was a contractor and you get a bid, are you gonna drop your price once you get the money?
Like I said, we just had from 2 o'clock yesterday to this morning, you know, to work out the deductions to get it to where it, because we were looking at putting in about $75,000, which we knew we couldn't do. So,
Frankie, the only thing I think is Paul being our public works coordinator and knows what needs to be done over there. Y'all should have included him.
Yeah, he has.
Well,
we've been working partly with, like I said, our biggest problem, Hillman, is with Summit, with the fire department over there, you know, at Belfry, is where, you know, they're not working with us to get that thing started over there, you know, getting things lined up.
Bob, that's over in your area, but I hear what he's saying. That Summit is not cooperating with the court. Is that right?
Right. Where Kevin had his heart attack and surgery stuff, it put everything on the back burner. We can't get footers started over there. You know, we're down. You know, we're getting closer, but we still ain't got nothing started. So. And
they don't have another engineer.
But can this be put off, Jenny, till next Tuesday night, the first meeting, and for this third floor to see what they can come down, what they let us do to bring the prices down to where we can work with it, or
only got $25,000 to.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's just why I'm asking. You know.
Well, they came down 43,000.
Or rebid it.
And my understanding is when do we have to have the first spin down on it to get
Where you gonna get the 25,000 at? Have you figured that out? Well, she's,
At this point in time, the county has got some extra money, but we're also got another avenue that I spoke with Department for Local Government yesterday, and since they did allocate money from the coal severance single county account, Jeannie will write a letter to the legislators today and ask them if we could use the recaptured money we have here, which is $500 and some thousand from the Coca-Cola through the L.J. Miller old furniture plant. That would be able, if they concur that we could use money out of that, then Department for Local Government has no problem in signing off on letting us use the recaptured. But I've got to explain to the representatives what we're using is the recaptured money and see if they would concur before we take it out of our budget. But that's what we're looking at.
How long will that take to get an answer?
However long we can write a letter and get the representatives to answer us.
Sandy was,
Hopefully by tomorrow they would be able to give us an answer. We could email them the letter and stuff.
I mean, if time's going to be a problem, could we go ahead and approve something pending their approval? I don't know what you think. I mean, what's everybody else think? I mean, if we can get the legislators, you know, if they're okay with it.
He's worked really hard on this project to
Right.
try and make it a go, because probation and parole, if they're the occupants, we're going to make $50,000 a month on
Right.
this investment.
Right.
A year over getting 15, we're going to get $35,000 extra from the 15,000 we're getting now.
Right.
And if it's an April 15 deadline, April 3rd doesn't give us much time to get stuff started in a week and try and get finished. And get checks out, get copies of checks back in order to get the drawdown and get all that stuff going.
Well, I'll just make a motion that we, pending the legislators' approval, and that we'll use the recaptured money.
And if not, we'll use money from the county.
Okay. That's my motion.
I'll second it.
That is to award the bid to,
Roll call, please.
that is to award the bid to Elliott Contracting for $266,771, pending further negotiation with the contractor and Public Works also to reduce that
Yes.
base
I
bid.
think it would be a good idea to include Terry and Paul and Jeannie, we're not, you know, I'm sorry that you're upset with it, but I just hate to keep spending money we don't have and
Revenue producing. Paul, you good with that? Just say yes. Just say. Okay. All right. I think we got it.
I second it.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Compton?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy?
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
yes,
Magistrate Barney?
Yes.
Judge Dixon?
Yes.
that's all I got, Judge.
Bobby?
Judge, I'm thankful that we've designated April as Pride Month and cleanup, and our Pride group, they do a great job, as I said before. I think our first meeting is Monday the 2nd, isn't it? 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, right here. And I think Ken Stacy's supposed to be back with us, isn't he? So that'll be good to see him and stuff, but that Pride group and what they do, I really applaud them. Our senior citizens over there are doing great at Belfry. In fact, I might have to slip out of here a little early. They're having an Easter program that starts at 1, and I told them I would be there. So if you look over here and I'm gone, that's where I'm at here in a few minutes. But they're doing a great job over there. And I applaud them and all that they do. My road crew, this Saturday with all the things that went on and stuff and trees in the road and still yet in fact they were cleaning out some today. But they came out, the guys came out, Johnny on the spot, and done their job. They done their little thing, so I'm really proud of them. That's all I've got, Judge. Thank you.
All right.
One other thing, I'm sorry. We don't have public comment, but I think Mike May has got something that he wants to say, just an announcement or something, Mike. If you would come to the podium.
Thank you, Bobby. I'm here with some uplifting news here today. My wife, Connie May, and her sister, Connie Hall, has started a clothing giveaway over in the Red Robin buildings at Stone. My wife, she has always been one that people will come and anything to give away, and this has been going on for years. And then people will contact her to see in the community to see if she has anything they need, from a wheelchair to a potty chair to clothing or whatever. So we have been blessed to get a spot there at buildings at Stone. Coming up 199, it'll be on that end of the buildings. My wife and her sister was raised by the Reverend Jess and Dorothy Mosley, and they was taught and with a giving heart, and she is really enthused about this, to be able to do this in a central area. And, you know, like with Connie, over the years, she has made me a better person. And she'll be the first to tell you she's still working on me. But the clothing giveaway they'll be in there. They plan to be there every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And there's no certain criteria. Anybody can come, and if you want something, you see something you could use or want, you can just get it. And I'm sure you'll have some good conversation with them two gals. They're very, very heart-loving people, and they want to try to do for the community. They always have, but hopefully we can, reach out to more people. Now, donations, and as it goes on, whatever we get, we will be giving more. And for that, you can call me at 606-353-4911. And even though the giveaway is on Saturday from 10 to 3, somebody, if you've got donations or something, get a hold of us. I've got an answering machine, and we'll get back with you. Somebody will meet you. And we have had some good response. This coming Saturday will be the third Saturday, and, we're trying to get a go on it, but we have good response of getting donations. And call that number if there's anybody that anyone knows that, needs something, get a hold of us. If it's clothing, the size, or whatever, if we've got it, we'll meet you and give it to you, let you put it out. Or if there's a fire, whatever disaster it is. And we're just hoping to put this out there and get people involved and do a good thing. So, thank y'all.
All right. Treasurer's business.
On top of what I passed out to you is the county budget preparation timetable. We've approved the fee office budgets by January 15th. Number 2 and 3 have been sufficed as of today. We prepared the proposed jail budget and submitted the proposed jail fund budget to the fiscal court by April 1. The next item on the list is number 4, to submit the entire proposed budget to the fiscal court by May 1. Skip to number 6, and the fiscal court meets to consider proposed budget and make a detailed investigation of each activity for which county funds are to be expended by June 1, so the month of May, or beforehand, if we all agree on things, for it to be in the judge's proposed submitted budget by May 1, then we can go on with the first and second readings before June. Then, number 8, by June 1, we're to have the first reading of the proposed budget ordinance. Number 9, the county judge executive makes changes to the proposed budget as directed by the fiscal court not less than 20 days prior to the time for adoption, which means if it's going to be June 30th, we need to get there by June 10th. You forward 3 copies of the proposed budget to the state local finance officer. Proposed budget is approved as to form and classification and returned to the county. I have to wait to get a signature that it has been released, because that has to be in the publication for the second reading of the ordinance of the budget. So you advertise the second reading and publish the summary of proposed budget ordinance not less than 7, no more than 21 days prior to adoption. You post a copy of the budget near the front door of the county courthouse at least 7 days prior to adoption. Second reading and adoption of the proposed budget ordinance has to be by July 1. Then we publish the budget ordinance immediately after adoption, forward a copy of adopted budget to the state local finance officer within 15 days following adoption by the fiscal court. So these are the guidelines that we'll be going through, and we have completed through number 3 at this point. Number 4 will be our next go by May 1st. Any questions on that? Okay. Authorize any necessary transfers and interfund transfers to pay the bills, payroll, health, and life insurance.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Compton?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy?
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
Yes.
Magistrate Varney?
Yes.
Judge Deska?
Yes.
Acknowledge, last court meeting I said acknowledge receipt of the sheriff's, but it was really the clerk's 2550 reports, so I'm redoing it. Acknowledge receipt of the clerk's and the sheriff's 2550 reports for February 2018. And as you will see, the sheriff has at the end of February $140,334.68. And the clerk has $55,969.82 in their accounts at the end of February.
Motion to acknowledge.
Roll call, please.
Who's second?
Second.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Compton?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy?
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
Yes.
Magistrate Varney?
Yes.
Judge Deska?
Yes.
We need to authorize a check in the amount of $4,341.79 to State Electric for lighting for the Pike County Teleworks building. This is coal severance, single county money.
So this is pass-through money, right?
Correct.
Motion. Second.
Roll call, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Compton?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy?
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
Yes.
Magistrate Varney?
Yes.
Judge Deska?
Yes.
Authorize check to the Pike County Health Department for $150 for permit for the holding tank for the hog trial cabin.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Compton?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy?
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
Yes.
Magistrate Varney?
Yes.
Judge Deska?
Yes.
Authorize a check to East Kentucky Concentrated Employment Program to reimburse for purchases for Teleworks Hub in the amount of $30,983.37 for headphones, foot pedals, Mac Minis, iPhones, huddle cams, fax machines, and 1-year Zoom account. This is pass-through money from the coal severance, single county.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Compton?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy?
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
Yes.
Magistrate Varney?
Yes.
Judge Deska?
Yes.
Authorize a check to purchase a Craftsman 12007 XSP 16-gallon 6.5 peak HP wet dry vac in the amount of $99.99. I wasn't sure if it gets made out to Sears Hometown or who, so I didn't know who to put as the vendor, but it's Sears paperwork, so.
Well, they having some flooding over, Paul?
No, they need one like that. They got a lot of, we're doing a lot of work and stuff over there, and they haven't got one. It's just something they can use if they get water or something in the floor and stuff, and it's through the, grant money with the rest of it.
That was a lot of numbers to read off just for a shop vac.
I'm telling you, it is, ain't it?
We need to leave one up on the 4th floor in a couple of different offices for what they come into yesterday with the
Sound like you better get you some hard hats too.
roof leaking.
Ceiling might fall in on you.
And the shop vac they have here did not have the little flat piece. It just has the hose to it. It don't have the little thing to scrub across, and the guy was trying to push it down on the spots and suck it up that way because we didn't have the little nozzle to go on the end.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Compton?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy?
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dobson?
Yes.
Magistrate Varney?
Yes.
Judge Fiscal?
Yes.
The last thing is I have to go online and do the DEA renewal for the animal shelter, and I think we have to do it on a credit card and get somebody reimbursed, but I just wanted the authorization that we are going to do this, and we'll submit it for reimbursement to somebody's credit card.
In our last court meeting, we approved to go ahead and pay this, didn't we?
That was for euthanasia to the state of Kentucky. This is Drug Enforcement Agency. In order for them to buy the medicine, we have to have a license from the DEA.
Oh.
And I think the last time we had to do it was maybe 2013
Second.
to renew it, or 2015.
Motion and second?
Roll call, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Compton?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy?
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dobson?
Yes.
Magistrate Varney?
Yes.
Judge Fiscal?
Yes.
I have no further business.
John, I've got a question. I had some of the people over to maintenance garage so they could get parts cheaper and quicker if they had some kind of a credit card or they could order this stuff online. And I just wondered, what do we need to do if we can help speed up them getting parts and at a cheaper rate? Do we give them the authority to use one of the credit cards, or how would you recommend, just stay away from that, or what?
County does not have a credit card, and I have never been a proponent of it for the fact that gets too many people in trouble.
Well, they say they have to use their personal card
We always
sometimes
reimburse them back.
to order parts, and it might speed up if they had some system to where they could go ahead and order the parts if they had some kind of a card to where they could do that.
It's up to the court, but I'm not a proponent of a credit card.
Well, I'm not either. That's the reason I'm asking you the question.
That's why they
What
should-
could we do to
If they're putting it on their own personal, we reimburse them back as soon as we can, and if waiting until the court meeting to, that we pay bills is not soon enough, we could bring it up in the one in between to make sure they get their money so they're not charged any extra finance charge for their credit card or something.
Hey, Jonda, is there any way we could do like a standing order, that if they order a part, that we can cut them a check back to reimburse them, like outside of a court meeting? That way, as quick as they spend it, we can cut them a check back, and that way they're not, I mean, we could pay them back before they even get their credit card bill, and then just do like a standing order to reimburse them.
That's fine
That
with
would
me
be
if
a
the
lot
court
better
wants
than-
to do that.
They wouldn't be out any time. We'd actually probably cut them a check back quicker than they'd owe the bill for it.
I just told him I'd bring it up. The guy that mentioned that, he's not there anymore. He's quit. But he said it would help them speed up them getting parts, and sometimes they could get them cheaper and quicker if they had somebody to order them online.
Why don't you work on that proposal, what it, the ins and outs on it, and maybe we can take care of that next court meeting.
It was just an idea.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like Jonda, credit cards, just
No.
auditor's nightmare of, like, credit cards.
And that may
We
go good.
used to have a credit card that we used to get supplies, didn't we, Jonathan, from
We still have the Walmart credit card.
something like
But
that?
Frankie has it to where it's checked in and out, and they bring a receipt right back to him.
Could you check and see, Frank, if you could do something like that with some kind of a card that you would be in control of and maybe let them use it?
But that's an application for a credit card
Yeah, that,
in the name of Pike County Fiscal Court.
Well, I don't mean to bring up no more troubles. I just told them I'd bring it up, and it don't seem like it.
Because I always try to work with
I
the
mean-
hotels and motels, and we either do checks up front to purchase this stuff and have money sitting there, or get them to do a direct bill, because I've seen too much how credit cards may go good for about a year or so, and then somebody keeps starting to want to do things.
a standing order to cut them a check, I mean, as quick as they could show us that they paid for it and show us the bill, I mean, we could cut them the check that day, and
I think that's the way to do it, Frankie, like I said.
and you could try that and see if that works for them.
And I can bring it back to the court at the next court meeting of who we've issued checks to and for what.
Well, Frankie, get with me and we'll draft that order, present it next time.
Yeah. We'll do it next court meeting.
It's a thought.
You finished?
I'm finished, Judge.
All right. Okay, executive session, we need to go into executive session to discuss personnel and possible litigation. Bobby Varney, will you please read the KRS?
Yes, sir, Judge. At this time, I make a motion that we go into executive session in accordance of KRS 61.810, paragraph C, discuss proposed or pending litigation, and paragraph F, to discuss specific personnel.
Second. Roll call, please.
Magistrate Anderson, Magistrate Compton.
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy.
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson. Magistrate Dotson. Magistrate Varney.
Yes.
Judge Fiscal.
Yes, we'll be in recess. The meeting will resume. Justin?
Gentlemen, the following item is up for approval. It's approval to accept Tiffany Jolly's resignation effective 4/5/18. Approval to hire Clyde Witt as a mini packer driver at Solid Waste Area 5 at a 3H rate of pay plus longevity. Approval to hire Tracy Yates as a mini packer driver at Solid Waste Area 5 at a 3H rate of pay.
All
And that
right.
is it.
These are my recommendations and my motion. Roll call, please.
Magistrate Anderson. Magistrate Compton.
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy.
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson. Magistrate Dotson. Magistrate Varney. Judge Deskin.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, comments of directors and comments. Jackie Darrell?
I got one here. Scotty of Worldwide Equipment called me the other day, and something the magistrates and you need to take up is on when he asked the question of, do we want to get the trucks renewed in June like we used to do, or wait till the fall like we did this last time? And plus, besides that, he said they had changed their transmissions in the truck, the ones like Bobby's got in the drop-offs, and they're going to automatic transmissions mostly. And the Mack Drive Automatic, if I understood him right, I got several things on my text where he texted me on, is about $10,000 more. And the Allison transmission, which has got a good reputation being automatic, it would be an additional $3,000. So that's something y'all need to look at and consider, and I got some information that y'all can look at on my phone where they texted to me yesterday. But I haven't got to talk to Bobby how good a service he's got out his drop-offs. Has that been good, Bobby? Okay. Oh, I've got.
Jack, I never did hear about how much we had to pay them or made or whatever from that report from our trucks last year. It was good, but I never did get the final report. Did you?
I was told, I thought we lucked in there. I think we did. That's where the flood happening, and everything's a high demand for the trucks. But I was told we exceeded our profits, but I don't know what it was. I was going to ask John, but she's not here. I don't know what it was, but it's supposed to have been good because there's a crime for them trucks, but we haven't got them down there.
Frankie, can you remember something close? Said there a while ago was we need to make a decision. Whether we're gonna go, we're only gonna get, what, 6 months if we go now in July or May?
May's normally the deal, May and June, as he said June, I don't know what he said June, but we take them down and they sell them.
Well, how long we had them?
So, yeah, I think it's October we done this time.
So if we go in June, we're getting back on schedule. Or May.
Generally, I think you get better money there, but this last time we was forced because of the hurricanes in Texas and other places there, there's a big demand for trucks, but that don't always happen. We hope it don't happen again, but we were blessed. Others
What y'all think, Ken, if you think we need to extend it or go with it?
Whatever the court wants to do, it don't matter. How many months will we be using on this thing?
They usually say that the sales are better in the spring than they are in the fall. But like I said, you know, those hurricanes hit Florida and the Gulf Coast there right when because we kept those trucks a year and a half last time, and we actually, you know, made our money back on them. So
Ken was wanting to know how many months we'd had. What, about 7 months?
7 to 8 months would be about.
But the extension go through October? Does the extension go through October?
If we want to, they told Jack we could go through to October.
Yeah, they said they could go through to October, and it's my business thoughts when I go to auctions. Most of the time, I always get a better buy in the fall than I do in the spring. But he said they'd had good success in the fall now. And if you watch the weather patterns, we are getting more hurricanes. So I hate to, talk about somebody else's bad luck, but that benefits us in the deal. But you don't know the total answer to that. But he said fall sales has been better in the last few years.
I believe I'd keep them till October. Yeah. That'd just be a year then in October.
It's up to you, fella.
Use them for a year. Yeah.
What do you think?
Fine with it, I don't know.
Matter to me.
It's a big new man.
So what, you want me to call him back and tell him we wait till October?
It's like rolling dice. You don't know how you're gonna come out.
Whatever you wanna do, it's all right on my end. Yeah.
Are you done, Jackie Darrell?
Yeah, that's all I've got to comment on.
Paul? Bobby?
Got a couple dates for you, Judge. We had initially planned to do a little test ride for the mountain bikes up at Lick Creek this weekend. Had some feedback at our last public trails meeting. With Easter, they wanted to defer that. So what we're looking at is the following weekend. They suggested maybe we do like a Sunday afternoon ride. That's been pretty successful down in Floyd County. So just everybody watch the Facebook Friends of Pike County Cycling webpage or the Facebook page and for updates on that. Tug Valley Roadrunners Club's having their trail run I think it's called Scott's Trail Run, if you want to get on their website and check that out and register. That will be next Saturday. And the bike ride will be on a Sunday, and it'll go out of Lick Creek, so watch for those. I've got an enduro rally that Don and Kathy McCoy is sponsoring there over in the McCarr area. They'll be using the park for that and their own facility for that. Our next public trails meeting will be the 26th of April. That's the fourth Thursday of the month. Horse rides coming up in May, second weekend in May, which is the 12th. And of course, you got the Hatfield McCoy Marathon that will take place on the second Saturday in June. This year, that'll be June the 9th. So those are just a few of the trail-related events that we've got coming up. I think, Hillman, that Butch is wanting to do another ride once the weather warms up a little bit.
How'd that go? Canceled?
Had a good turnout. It snowed pretty much the entire ride on us. I had about 12 buggies and a couple dozen folks. Had a couple that celebrated their anniversary. Hillman drove all the way down from Central Illinois. Had another guy drove down from Akron, Ohio. Had a couple more that came down from Baltimore. So we did. It was a good ride, though, other than trying to keep the snow off the windshield so we could see where we were going. Everybody enjoyed themselves. Butch did a great job hosting that. Had a nice meal back at Butch's, and the feedback was good. So hopefully the next one we have, the weather will cooperate a little bit. And we'll get a little bit warmer weather and have a few more folks show up. River trails, we've got 2 of the 4 already permitted. We need a couple personal signatures on the ownership on a couple of the properties that we're working on there.
I know you obligated yourself to the last of May, didn't you, that you'd
Yes.
have him going?
Yep.
Better be getting going.
Well, you know, that's another one of Paul's babies there, and we've got to make sure that he can cover that. I mean, he's got a lot of stuff on his plate right now, so you guys rely on Public Works pretty heavily, and I know, you know, there was some conversations out there in the social media about equipment and needs and all of that, but I will say that all of you rely on Public Works pretty heavily, and they do a marvelous job with the resources that they have. And if it wasn't for Public Works, this county wouldn't have a lot of the things that we have. So personally, I'd like to thank Paul for what he does and his leadership and what his employees do. And you know, everybody at this table, you know, from our sheriff's department, Hillman, they protect us, they protect our kids. Diane and her staff feed our seniors. They all work hard, and I think sometimes they don't get the credit they deserve. So that's all I've got, Judge.
Jimmy, I happen to agree with everything you just said. Exactly.
I got one more little issue I forgot there was the guy talked to me, Scott. He said he was wanting, Worldwide Equipment was wanting to go into buying the beds on the trucks locally. And I said Pike County. He said no, I think it's Johnson County, if I recall right. But they're thinking about switching where they buy the beds at, and that's another little issue that he asked me about.
Jack, we've been getting some good results out of the type of beds we're using now as far as bending the sides of them up. We got the...
I haven't had no complaints.
That's what I was thinking, you know, them beds seem like they're holding up better. The other ones we had, when it dumped big rock in it, it was making places in the beds, and it hurt the sail of the truck, didn't it?
Yeah. I just want to, you know, let you know what the
Well, what
gentleman
kind of
said.
beds are they wanting to go to?
Say again?
What kind of beds are they wanting you to look at?
It was a bed made in Johnson County, I would assume, or just brought to Johnson County. They sell them there. Are you familiar with them any, Jimmy? That's the first time I'd heard about that, and they'd been buying them off this one place all the time, but they was changing and buying them off this guy to a degree, and wanted to know if we had any objections.
Reynolds used to make them down there at Prestonburg. Did they quit? Who's in Johnson County making them?
Yeah, I think they put the beds on down there. Because we went down there and some trucks didn't have the beds on. They had to get them on. We had to wait on them a few times. These were better, as good as beds or better, you know, making them in Kentucky. Thank you. That might be something we need to investigate a little more, I guess.
I believe it was Oxford bed, what's on the Oxford.
Is that it? County Attorney, you have any comments? No. Well, I'll make a report. I need a motion to adjourn. Roll call, please.
Magistrate Anderson, Magistrate Compton.
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy.
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson, Magistrate Dodson, Judge Fiscal.
Yes.